Welcome to another exciting episode in our FXL podcast. And today we're diving into the world of technical support, where we will explore the dynamic role this team plays to ensure your customers and field technicians have a smooth experience. And you see, the quality of tech support can make or break the entire service experience. Just imagine the frustration of customers when tech support doesn't maybe gather the right information, or even worse, maybe provide the technician with the incorrect data. That's a recipe for very unhappy customers and a mountain of issues down the line. And when it comes to tech support, you don't just rely on the technical aspect of it. When you're in a high-stake environment like in medical or really complicated mechanical equipment, trying to talk your technician through an issue doesn't just have to do with the hard skills, but what really counts is the people skills and the empathy with the human that you're interacting with, which can make or break the service experience. So the question is, how do you apply this to your tech support operation? And we've got the answers for you right here in today's episode. To do that, I'm excited to have my man, Josh here, joining me all the way from the US. Josh, how are you doing today, brother?
I'm great, Yassine. It was great to meet you. Thank you.
Yeah, look, our good mutual friend, 𝗧𝗜𝗠𝗘𝗦𝗧𝗔𝗠𝗣𝗦, who you guys might remember from our previous episode, was the one who recommended Josh to bring on this episode, because Josh has a PhD level in tech support, and I can't wait to dive into today's episode. But before we begin, I would love for you to, Josh, to give us a background about what you do and where, the kind of role you play at TransLogic.
Sure. So first of all, our friend 𝗧𝗜𝗠𝗘𝗦𝗧𝗔𝗠𝗣𝗦, me following behind him is a very familiar feeling and a very comfortable. Well, I got to thank that guy. He's a great dude.
He's a guy.
My professional journey, like a lot of my mentors, including Roy and a lot of my colleagues, was in the U.S. Navy. I was a radar guy, a fire controlman on destroyers, working on radar for a while. When I walked off of my ship into civilian life, I walked into Swisslog Healthcare as a field service engineer. So I was an electronics, electromagnetic engineer kind of guy. So I worked in SoCal, Orange County, and LA as a field service engineer for 4 or 5 years for Swisslog. Saw an opportunity to move towards my roots. I'm from Wyoming originally, the middle of nowhere. Our headquarters in Denver, so I got a job in tech support in Denver. I joined that team on the phones, taking the calls. Did that for, I want to say, 9 months to a year. And then Roy came along in my department, and I interviewed for the management position for the team, and I got it. And things moved along over time. And 15 years later, I'm the director of customer care centers, which is our tech support team.
15 years. That's impressive.
Good times.
So Josh, I guess my first question for you is, why are there, so I've noticed this pattern, a lot of great technicians come with them, from a military background. How does your experience in the military translate to what you do today?
Well, we see a lot of things. You also get good. So you get good at the rote, and you also get, of course, technical training, right? But you get technical training, you get good at the rote, meaning I can follow a manual correctly, right? I can fill out the paperwork assigned with the job, which is really important in field service. We want to be able to reproduce the same quality work every time we go work on something, especially if it's preventive maintenance, not a break-fix situation. So I want to be able to do it correctly and consistently for our customers. That's what quality is, right? Anybody who was in the military can read a manual and follow the steps correctly, because you were going to get this if you didn't, right? So we all learned that. We did get the technical training, and then you do break-fix situations when it's stressful. Right? It's when this radar's got to work, you got to figure it out. No excuses, right? You got 2 hours until we turn over. So let's go. So you figure it out, right? And you might be an 18-year-old, 21-year-old in a high pressure situation like that, dealing with high voltage equipment. That's a very unique experience. I'm not saying there's not stuff like that in civilian things, but it's consistent that everybody that does this kind of thing is gonna see the same kind of stuff in the military, right?
Absolutely. When you're working on radars and you've got torpedoes flying all over, you better get that radar fixed. And I think you called it. It's operating under pressure, and the pressure that a technician is under is immense, especially in a post-COVID environment where customer expectations are high, and the Amazon effect and the instant gratification and service that our customers today expect from us. That kind of mindset and the ability to work under pressure couldn't come more handy, which gets us into tech support. When a technician is under pressure, right, is how important it is to provide them with the level of support that they need to get the job done.
So it depends a little bit on who you're talking to in tech support. So if we're talking to a customer or if we're supporting internal to our field service organization. Either way,
right,
access to information is the advantage that we have in remote technicals. So there's some limitations, right? Meaning I can't reach through the phone and turn a wrench for somebody. I can't read a meter for them. I can't fix something. I have to walk you through it, or else give you a path, or else find out what your skills are so I can tailor what I'm asking you to do. Because not everybody's an electronic engineer, right? I work in a lot of these guys are plumbers and carpenters, and I'm asking them to work on something that's motors and sensors. So that changes the scope of possibility we can ask you to do, or the simplicity of the tasks we have to provide. If we're talking to a field service engineer, that's a little different, right? We expect them to be at our technical level or even greater as far as break fix in the moment. The difference between us and them a lot of times is I have access to information. I'm sitting at a desk, right? Maybe in an office, maybe at home, but I've got access to my computer, where not necessarily can the field service engineer, depending on where they're operating, in a basement room or an operating room in a hospital or at the top of a skyscraper. I don't know what it is, but you don't always have access to all this information. So I should be able to access all of our documentation, knowledge base articles, other technicians, engineering group in the back of the office, right? I go talk to the software engineers. I go talk to the guy that built the 𝗧𝗜𝗑𝗦𝗦, right?
Yes.
The technician in the field doesn't have access to that. So what we should be able to do is kind of empower, escalate what they're capable of, because we're giving them the tools they can't access in the moment, right? I still think of myself as a field service person because I was for a while. Probably disingenuous, right? I haven't done it in a long time. I like to pretend like I do. But I understand kind of the different pressure they have face-to-face with the customer versus I do talking to him on phone face-to-face with the customer.
Right. And I'd like to say behind every great technician is a great tech support. And as you mentioned, I mean, you've got multiple stakeholders. So in your role, Josh, if I'm not mistaken, you not only support technicians, but you also support the end user or the customer who may or may not be technical, correct?
That's right.
So that leads me to the question. And when talking about tech support, do you think so much other areas in field service, that the success would rely primarily on the technical aspect of it. But with how you guys operate and how you do tech support, that doesn't seem to be the only case. So for those who are in charge of tech support, what mindset do they need to adopt in order to be successful at what they do?
I mean, the second word is support. We got to understand we're not the star of the show. We never will be. Our job is to support whoever is on the other end of the screen or the phone. And that means, again, we can't turn the wrench. We can't press the keys for them. We might have remote access or video or something like this. But what that means is we're working with people. We're not working with machines, which means emotional intelligence and how we relate to people, how we build relationships. how we figure out how to provide information, how we present information to people is very, very important. To me, it's as equally important to the information, right? I expect anybody I hire in our field of the work to have a technical background already. So I'm really not too worried about that, right? A lot of the people we hire are field service engineers that come out of the field in Swisslog and join us because they like working in the group, or it's a little bit less stressful, right?
Right.
So I trust that our training program and our documentation means that we all have access to the same information and we have the technical ability to help someone. That means I can concentrate on how we help them. And
makes sense.
Keeping the frustration at a lower level and helping and being that word, support, right? We're not the star. We need to accept and embrace that role.
So that's an interesting take because, like you said, we deal with people, we don't deal with machines. And when it comes to people skill, is that something that people are born with, or it's an acquired skill that you can teach someone, just like you would teach them on fixing a certain equipment? Like, what's your take on having that level of empathy and people skill? Is it an acquired skill or you come born with it?
I mean, people have different level of empathy maybe, but that's more of a social conversation. I think what we're saying is, can I find anyone that has a technical background and teach them to relate to people and provide support for them? I think the answer is mostly yes, right? There's always outliers, but I'm a living example. Socially, I'm awkward. It took me a long time to be able to be really comfortable with people and to talk like this with you.
Right.
But I learned to do it by kind of embracing how I do things instead of saying I'm going to do it like him or Roy, right? I don't do it the same way as Roy. And I feel the same way about everybody that works for me. We all, as long as we're competent, have the ability to relate to people. You do it every day, all day, with your family, your friends, people you meet at the store. I mean, everybody's always interacting. So the point is to help them to find the best way they can do it, right? Nobody that works for me relates to customers or talks to customers the same way as the next person. We don't do scripting, right? I want you to be you, right? In a professional and polite and technical manner. That's all. So really what it is getting on a level where you can show people why you're doing things. What I mean by that is, if I can tell them or show them or prove to them that it's more advantageous, it's going to make your job easier, going to make your life easier. If you can help people with empathy, right? Stop and listen, let them feel like they're in control, give them tasks they can complete to build confidence, these kind of things. It just makes your life simpler and less stressful. So then they start thinking about, in a conversation, okay, so how can I be a teammate with this person? How can I support this person? Instead of, how do I get them off the phone? Right? How do I make them call the next guy and not talk to me next time? Right?
Right. So that's interesting. I don't know if you listen to calls, if you do any quality assurance and you listen to technician calls, but if we were to try to dimensionalize it for our audience, what would be a good example of a call where you have a technician who uses empathy to work through an issue with a technician or with a customer versus a technician who doesn't use empathy? Like if I'm calling in and, we're working on, a piece of equipment, what is a tough piece of equipment that you work on right now, for instance, that typically has a lot of components and it's typically stressful to work on?
Yeah, we call it a traffic control unit.
Right. So if I manage a traffic control unit and I'm calling in and I'm frustrated, it's not working. How does a empathetic tech support agent handles the call versus highly technically apt, a technician with the high technical aptitude but lacks empathy? How do these two calls differ?
So empathy breeds patience, right, and better listening skills. So if I'm the technician, I call in and I sound frustrated, I sound tired because I've been banging my head on this thing for 3 hours, right? And I'm in an engineering space that's 90 degrees. So I call in and I say, hey, tech support, I got this error. And a non-empathetic tech support person might cut him off as soon as he tells him what the error is and say, oh, that carrier sensor stripping, I know what it is. Just do this.
Boom. What? Right. Okay.
Right. What that guy wants is he wants you to listen to him because he's probably not done. But we didn't listen to find out. We just say, right, and that's how we do it with customers sometimes too, right? You hear those keywords,
we cut them
you
off.
just want to say, all right, this one's done. I'm going to mark this as a check, and you know what I mean. You can't do that because especially with field service, we're not just helping them fix things, we're helping them in their job, which means helping them in their environment, helping them feel better about what's going on, helping them make the customers feel better.
Right.
So you would stop and you would listen, right? And if you said, well, try this, and the technician says, I already tried that, you wouldn't question him if you were empathetic, right?
Right. So let's role play it real quick. Ask me something about, this traffic control unit that, a suggestion. So I'm the end user, you're the tech support agent. Let's role play real quick.
You should just replace that sensor at the end there. That's what catches the carrier coming through.
Josh, I already tried it.
Well, and
it didn't work.
But I've seen this quite a few times. Okay.
I just literally tried it and it just didn't work and it's not working. So how can you help me?
I'll send you the guide. So look up chapter 4.
Okay, I see. Okay, so now let's switch it. So this is the non-empathetic. Was the empathetic? So, okay, let's start again. Okay, so Josh, what do you recommend I do?
First of all, can you tell me the status of the equipment? Have you had any transactions go through there recently?
Yeah, it was working yesterday. And today, when I turned it on, it's just not, processing any transactions.
Are there any blinking lights on it when it fails, or you get some kind of alarm?
Yeah. So there are blinking lights on it. I don't know what it means. It's just like lighting up like a Christmas tree.
Sure. Yeah. No problem. Let me ask you: has anything happened in the last 24 hours? You said yesterday was fine, so I feel like either something happened or the equipment failed.
I'm not sure. It just turned it on. It's just not turning on. It's just blinking.
Okay. Do you have any experience with a screwdriver or a voltmeter?
Yeah, somewhat.
Okay.
Are you going to ask me to fix it, Josh? I need it fixed right now. Like, are you going to have me fix it? Or how do we deal with this machine?
I want to get it running so you can make sure that your office is working correctly. Okay. Now, if we follow this path, sir, I can guarantee you we're going to make some progress. We may not fix it right here in the next 5 minutes, but if we don't, then we can work on getting a technician out there. But if we do fix it in the next 10 minutes, your boss is going to be really happy because you didn't pay to have a tech come out 3 hours from now.
Right. So what should I do? Okay.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a list of test points, and I'll just put them on the chat in the screen.
But I've already tested the machine, Josh, and it's not working. I've done all the tests.
Okay. So all I want to know is find out is if the power is getting to the right places. So maybe you've hit the buttons on the machine, but I've worked on these before, and I can tell you I can figure out if we're going to need escalated support, so I don't waste your time.
Yeah, makes sense. So off role play, I get it. So you're really using questions. You're validating his concern, and then you're leading with questions rather than making just shouting or giving out commands and instructions. So it's a more of a question-based approach, using empathy and validating concern and following with question rather than just being very commanding. Yeah,
there's no
nuance.
There's no problem with explaining things, right? Providing that it's not a secret. I've listened to calls before where we just want to say, just do this, instead of saying why we do that, right? or how this is going to benefit you. We want to give you that value proposition, right? Because I don't want you to have to wait for a field service engineer to drive across town. I want to fix it.
That's so key. And like, what do you look at, Josh? And does this level of empathy like reflect in any of the KPIs, or like what do you look at to judge the performance of your technical support people? And how does that empathy may play a role in, do you see any improvement in KPIs or in how the calls are handled or in satisfaction or service levels? What do you look at to judge?
I mean, service level is really important to our organization. We have a lot of customer sites. We've got a relatively small team. So making sure we answer the calls without long waits is important to our customers in a healthcare setting. So I'm watching that one, right? And that's part of my job. I need to figure out ways to keep our service level good, which has to do with projections and staffing and where we put shifts and these kind of things. But that's kind of the nuts and bolts of the job.
Yes.
So how we do the actual calls, there aren't many metrics I care all that much about. So there are things I track because it matters. So what I found over time as I got a feel for the job is things like handle time or talk time. You know, before I was trying to drive those down so I can help my service level, which is good. But what I found is as we drive handle and talk time down, we drive our quality down too, right? Because then they're not spending that time to talk to those customers. And it's interesting, you know, I can look at calls with one particular customer site, right? We have our frequent flyers like everybody else does. And what happens is you'll have calls over time that are pretty long and then they get shorter because we're training them, especially if they're happy to keep calling us back. And they call you back because you're effective, right? And because at a certain point, every customer gets so frustrated, they stop, right? Or they go to the document, or they just say, just send me a tech out, right? So if you're doing it poorly, you know, you'll actually get less calls, not more.
I love that. Yeah, and that's the balance you want to achieve, right? You don't want to get too stuck on the leading metrics to tech support, because while you may, like to your point, yeah, you may achieve an average handle time of like whatever, less than 5 minutes. But then are you increasing the, you know, level 3 support or your escalation from tech support to dispatch, right? How is that impacting it? And, you know, if you go a few more minutes or give, you know, another 5 minutes, does that has an impact on reducing your dispatch rate and your cost of service? So what you're saying is, yes, it's important to look at the leading metrics of, you know, technical support, whether it's response, you know, average speed to answer or average handle time and whatnot. But you also want to look at the downstream effect. If you're nailing your average handle time, but you're driving up, you know, dispatch rate, what good has that done?
Yeah, 5 minutes will save you a $4,000 warranty call.
Wow.
Let's spend that 5 minutes, right? I mean,
exactly.
Kind of a no-brainer. So what I'm saying is the metrics are important because they tell me what's happening, right? Where I can make projections based on them, where I can see trends. But they shouldn't wag the dog. Our focus and our goal is customer satisfaction and then service level, right?
I love that.
I'm KISS. I keep it simple, stupid. So that's what I and
I love it. So
right, because now it's a management problem, right? All these other metrics, that's about staffing and resources. So that means, can I get you guys access to better knowledge base, right? Can I get you access to AI tools to speed up how fast we access our knowledge? So that's how you attack all the call times and all that stuff. Otherwise, I use them as indicators towards what's going on, right? Do we have an uptick? Do we have longer call times in a weird time of the year? Does that match with a product release or maybe a product change, or we have a new software out there? It's an indicator. Maybe we're having some problems with that, right? So it's an informational tool that can help not just my part of the organization, but all the organization. We can help field service, we can help engineering, we can help quality. All those groups can benefit from the things we figure out. And that's where the metrics help me out, right? And the data, first time call, fix kind of stuff.
I love it. So, Josh, I want to play a mentor-mentee kind of role. It sounds like you're a phenomenal mentor. And so let's say I'm stepping into a director of customer care role, or stepping into your shoes, and I've got the next 90 days to really level up the performance of my department. What would you advise me in terms of what should I prioritize? If I am in your shoes, what are the first things you would recommend that I do as a newly appointed director of customer care?
So if you haven't done the job, do the job, right? First week, listen to the calls, sit with the software support team, work on some software installs, whatever that.
So first listen to the calls. And why I'm asking maybe stupid questions here, but why should I listen to the calls? Why did that come first to your mind? Why listen to the calls? Why not talk to the technicians or read the manuals or come up with a comp plan or look at why was the first that came to your mind to listen to the call? Why?
Well, because you get to know them, how they operate on a call with a customer. There's a certain amount of stress there. Is going to be more valuable than me saying, "Hi, my name's Josh. What do you do here?" Right? I mean, I'd meet with the whole team or whatever this is, but I want to hear them doing their jobs. I want to see how they react to those environments. I want to see if, I want to compare A, B, C, and D employee and how they do that to each other. See if we're all doing it differently. See if we're giving different answers to the same questions. These are indicators of the big problems, right? I can meet so-and-so and say he's a nice guy and he has a good background.
So that's interesting. And what are some of the drivers or breakdowns when you're listening to a tech support call and you're looking to coach your team? What are you listening for?
I'm listening for frustration. Yeah.
What does that mean?
It means, you can hear in somebody's voice, once you hear them speak for a few minutes or a few seconds, their tone. You can tell from that tone socially how they're using their voice, or their voice is changing with stress. And it seems weird, but you can hear.
No, you're listening into body language, which makes total sense.
Right. So you can sense when people are getting stressed out, and you can start to tell what stresses them out or what situations. Right. So that's what I really want to know, is what makes you uncomfortable, especially if it's directly to a mentee, right, or one employee I'm trying to help. I want to find out what that thing is. Because maybe
are you listening to the customer frustration or technician frustration or to the tech support?
The technician.
Okay.
Yep. The customer, we're going to do 8,000 of those, right? So we're going to figure that out how to help them. But I want to figure out what's stressing you out, my technicians, so I can help them. Because if they're calm and competent and confident, they're going to be good on the phones. So we just achieve that, right?
Calm and confident and competent. The 3 C's. Okay, yeah. I like it.
So I'm concentrating on them. They're what I can control, right? And how they react to the customer.
Yeah. Can you break that down for me a little bit? Confidence, calm and competent.
So calm is what I was talking about. That's getting rid of the frustration, right? And calm will come with the others. So confident means there's an organized structure around me. I know what to do when I need to find information. I know who to talk to for an escalated situation. I know who to talk to for a social problem, right?
So confidence in the process.
Yeah, I have the apparatus and structure around me, so I should be confident, right? Because even if I don't know something, I know how to find that something. Or I know that Bill next to me knows how to find that something, right? Or the computer in the AI is going to tell me how to find that something.
Right.
And competent means I can employ the knowledge.
Employ the knowledge. And is that like the knowledge that they've been trained on? And how do you assess for applying knowledge?
I mean, that's effectiveness, right? So if they're helping people fix stuff a lot, they're applying the knowledge correctly. How many times you're getting it wrong, right? If we're sending out on a warranty because we couldn't fix it on the call, and it's always seems to be the same thing, right? That's an indicator that we got a competence problem, right?
Makes sense.
Otherwise, it's just the same as you would evaluate a field service engineer, right? You can use spot checks, you can work with them on the equipment, you can get their level of comfort with the kind of things, do training. One thing that I think is valuable is have them do training for others. Seeing how they train other people is a real indicator of how comfortable they are and competent with equipment or, service techniques and these kind of things.
And some of the best ways to master something is to teach it.
That's right.
Because you'll start thinking about it in a whole different way. So I love it.
And you
just want to circle back to calm, right? I just want to circle back. Yeah, exactly. So you double click on competency by teaching it. Yeah. So I love that. So just circling back to calm. Is calmness a mindset, or is calmness an attitude? Or is calmness like, hey, is it a procedure? Like, hey, before you start the call, breathe. If you hear, frustration, that, like, how do you achieve calmness, right? I'm a passionate guy, so you can, I don't know, some people may say I'm calm, others may say not. Like, how do you define calmness and how do you achieve it?
Well, it's not one thing, right? I mentioned if you're confident and competent and you know where to find everything, you're going to be more calm than you would otherwise, right? If I don't know how the heck I'm going to get myself out of this situation, I'm going to go from calm to calm very quickly. If I don't believe that I have a support structure that can help me when stuff goes sideways, I'm not going to be calm. That said, it's also, it's literally a physiological reaction when we get upset, right? So learning yourself and maybe what things you can do to calm yourself down. Every interview I ask people, what do you do? Here's a terrible call. I get you really upset. Maybe we do a role play, right? And then what do you do? Because you got to take another one in 2 minutes, right? Or what's your plan, right? I cannot have you answer the phone angry. I can't. You just cannot do it in this job, guy. So hear what they say. People know themselves. They've been with themselves a long time. I've been stuck in the room with myself for a long, long time. Right? And I 10, 15 years ago, I'd just be sweating like crazy right now on the phone with you and on the camera. But I'm not now because I'm more comfortable and I'm confident and I'm competent. I know what I'm talking about.
I love it.
I'm confident that what I've learned from everybody like Roy is valuable. And I also know that it's going to go on, right? Whatever happens, 5 minutes from now, it's going to be fine. So the one advantage I can give a lot of these people that do tech support is whatever is troubling you, that call's going to end. The problem is gone, right? You get a chance to reset. You get a chance to chill out. I'm always going to say, take 5 minutes and calm down rather than answer the phone. Whatever the service level is, the service level is. But you can't answer the phone angry. So let's use the advantage we have, right? If I'm a field service engineer and I'm at a site, I can't walk out. I can't leave, right? But if we're on the phone and it's even a long call, 30, 45 minutes, it's going to end. And then you're not going to be on the phone with them anymore. I mean, that's a pretty big advantage, I think. So,
yeah. So if you're in a director role, the first thing, or if I'm in a director role, the first thing I should do is listen to calls and keep the 3 C's in mind, right? Confidence, competency, and calmness. And I'm looking for indicators that tells me, because it's a cycle, right? Where's the gap in this cycle of mastery that I can coach my tech support agent on? So I love it. What's the second important thing that I should be doing as a director of customer care?
Well, you got to learn your organizational structure really well.
What do you mean by that?
Well, so in our structure, at the very least, we kind of look at my teams as central intake, right? So we encourage all customers to contact us for anything they need. So not just technical support, but I don't know who my salesman is, right? Or I need a quote for this, or what's the part number, or who do I contact for this in Swisslog? I don't know anybody in Swisslog.
Or
That's right. So, and we tend to, the tech support people, we reach out to a lot of different pieces of organizations. So we actually tend to know everybody, even if it's a large company, right? We're more likely to know people in sales and marketing and engineering and QA, right? Than somebody that's just in QA or something like that. Why are they reaching out to sales or whatever? I don't know. So what I'd say is we got to understand our place in the org, and you got to know it. So if I expect all of the people that work for me to be able to respond to a customer that's asking them questions about a different part of our organization, I better know that. I better know who that is that we should be contacting. And when they don't know who that is, and we told customers we should know, ask us. So when they don't know and they ask me, I better be able to tell them, oh, well, let's just reach out to so-and-so or this department, or send it to this group distro, or go on to our intranet, and there's a link right there we can direct them to, right? I have to know this stuff or I look silly. And it also means I can plan how we respond to stuff. I can make information available to them with the different strategies of getting that data out to them.
So it's really being a connector.
That's right. I don't do the work, right?
Right.
I make it available to them. I make sure the structure is in place. And that's what most of that work, that new director of customer care, customer tech support, or whatever you want to call it, that's what they're doing, is they're enabling all of those people to provide service. Right? I'm a support for the sport.
Right. Exactly.
So get a feel for the organization, understand where you sit, understand the escalation paths, understand what the product means to support and how we have input to those different organizations. It's also important in this job that you understand that you have power to influence your organization and your product, right? If we're supporting a specific product, we're one of those touch points like field service that get the direct experience with the product and the customer experience, right? A lot of it is anecdotal if I'm not in a service-facing organization. We know for a fact, right, what's going on with this thing because we see it every day. So you can kind of leverage those positions and understand where you can go for either support or to support external to your organization. But learning where you sit, kind of what your goals are, and listen to those calls and understand where we're at as a team, right? I'm not interested in fixing Joe. I want to fix Joe and his 8 colleagues.
Right.
So I need to fix the process and the tools, right? And the training.
Right.
I don't fix Joe. That's not my job.
Right.
Right.
So
understand where we're at.
Yeah. So you're the center of intelligence on how, so you inform process excellence, right? You look at the entire work order life cycle, and you kind of also represent the voice of the customer, and you identify breakages across that service journey, all the way from service call intake to cash collected or service delivered, and you try to connect the dots for the customer, and then you inform any improvement programs that has to be done that may not be in technical support, right? But you inform. You're kind of like a repository of all the defects in our process and areas where we can improve. So it's more of a strategic role. It's not just about forwarding people to different departments or just taking down complaints and submitting complaints in a box. It's really taking in the voice of customer and processing it using critical thinking to understand, well, where could this have broken down, and forwarding that feedback to the right person, and just being the advisor to the team on how to fix our process to deliver a 5-star service experience. So I love it. So listen to calls and be a connector and make sure that you inform any improvements across the entire work order life cycle. What would be the third thing I should be cognizant of or on the lookout for as a new director of customer care or technical support?
Make friends with whoever runs field service.
Okay, I'm going to ask the obvious question. Why is that?
I already said it. They're our most important customer, right? So that means whoever is running the field service organization, I am their technical support, right? I am supporting her organization. So make friends. It's really easy for me. For me, it's the guy I literally report to. So very simple. But I do think that's important, right? Technical support and field service should fit like a glove. And like I said, most people in technical support, they don't want you to say they work in a call center. They want to say we're technical support. I'm a technician, right? Because we think we do the same thing, and in some capacities we do, right? We fix things.
Absolutely.
We help customers. So making sure that those two organizations in particular work in tandem, with synergy is really, really important. We can't be opposed forces, right? We can't be negative, just like on the phone. We need to realize that we're that field service engineers support, right? They are our customer. They're our most important customer. So it's in a way a subservient role, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that, right? It's understanding what we do. But understanding, because we have so much power over these relationships, we actually have a position of quite a bit of power, right? The power to make actionable information. Like you said, learning all the stuff about the product or complaints or whatever, if that's just going to a black hole somewhere, it doesn't matter. But in the seat I sit, I have an opportunity to figure out how it's actionable or who to get it to make it actionable, right? To put a big blinking light on it, so it doesn't just disappear as an anecdotal story. A problem with a product is not an anecdotal story, but somebody will just say, hey, I remember this time this happened, right? It was crazy. It's like, well, if we see that 5 times, that's not a story, man. That's a problem. And
yes,
part of my job is making sure it goes to the place where it doesn't just become a story.
And so much gold nuggets, so many gold nuggets. I'm going to ask the team to, extract a lot of these insights and, put it in maybe like a carousel or a PDF, because there's a lot of lessons to be learned from your wealth of experience, Josh, all the way from, the mindset of a technical support person. You're expected to have the technical aspect covered, but really what really matters in this job or role is the people aspect, because to your point, you're not working with machines, you're working with humans. So I think that's a mindset shift. And then as a customer care leader, really it's important to always be close to the customer. And there's nothing closer than literally listening to the calls and understanding what's going on the phone to drive competency, confidence, and calmness across your agents. Make sure you're representing the voice of the customer, be that connector for the customer. Don't let them guess their way around your organization and go, go around and around and around. And also establish key relationships, especially with the field service organization, because literally that relationship, again, they're your number one customer. So you got to understand what their desired outcomes are. First of all, what's the job they're trying to get done, and how do they measure success? And how can we help them get the job done better, faster, cheaper? So lots of takeaway. And Josh, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to share your wealth of knowledge and wisdom with us. And folks, if you've experienced any challenges with tech support, share them below in the comments. I'll take a look at them, and Josh, will probably take a look, and can have this conversation. Can keep this conversation going. or if you have different insights, if you're in a customer support or technical support leadership role, I would love to get your insight on what's most critical for a customer support or technical support leader. What are the important things that you have to do on a day-to-day basis to ensure that you're delivering performance? And if you know someone who could benefit from Josh's insight, 15 years in the field, wealth of knowledge there. And, after all, our goal here is to crowdsource the playbook on operational excellence and field service. And we need to all come together to pull it together and create that. So with that said, Josh, thank you so much for joining us. And folks, I'll see you on the next episode. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you.